Hello again guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we have yet another sneak preview for you. This time it is of the MILVIZ FG-1D Corsair. MILVIZ were kind enough to lend me a copy of the aircraft to put through its paces for a little first impressions video. I will state right now that this aircraft is not yet ready for release, and as such things may change between now and the final release version of the aircraft. But as you'll see throughout the video, the product is already shaping up to be an absolutely brilliant add-on for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Anyway, in today's video we're currently at Nissan Airfield on Green Island. The aircraft that you can see in front of you is the MILVIZ FG-1D Corsair, and we're in the paint scheme of the number 15 Royal New Zealand Air Force Squadron. The aircraft comes with an absolute abundance of rather wonderful paint jobs, and as you can see, overall the detailing on the aircraft is done to a really high standard. Anyway though, as I say, this video is really just a first impressions, so we're not going to run through a full breakdown of the aircraft. For today's flight, we'll just get the aircraft started up, we'll depart out of Nissan Airfield, basically do a quick lap around the island and a couple of manoeuvres in the aircraft before coming back for a landing. As always guys, I do hope you enjoy the video. If you do, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. If you have any comments or questions for me, please leave them down in the comments section below, and I'll do my best to answer them. But now we'll hop into the cockpit of the Corsair and get the aircraft started up. So welcome to the cockpit of the MILVIZ FG-1D Corsair. As I say, today's flight is really just a little bit of a test, a little bit of a tryout. So we'll get the aircraft started up and we'll get it in the air. First item on the checklist then, the mixture is in the idle cutoff position. The fuel quantity, we have a full fuel load in the main tank. Wings are unfolded and locked. Artificial horizon is uncaged. Altimeter is set. Armament switches are all off. Ignition is off. Mixture again is in the idle cutoff position. Fuel selector, will select that to the reserve tank. We need to pump the hydraulic handle at least 5 times. We'll give it 10, just making sure we don't go above 300 psi. So we do now have some hydraulic pressure in the system. Supercharger control needs to go to the neutral position, which it is. Throttle will set within the red mark, but about 1 inch open. Battery can come on. Electrical auxiliary fuel pump goes on. Ignition will switch to both. And the starter will engage momentarily. Prop area is clear. Clear prop! So we'll engage the starter. Engine will start to turn over and we'll feed in the mixture as it does. So the engine's caught. Bring the power up to idle around 1000 RPM. And starter is disengaged, so we'll close the guard on that. Electric fuel pump can come off. And for the warm-up, the propeller control is in the maximum RPM position. Cowl flaps can go fully open. All cooler flaps are closed. Intercooler flaps will set to open. Mixture is in the auto rich position. And cylinder head temperature, we're making sure we don't exceed 232 degrees there, so we're all good. And we need at least 40 degrees Celsius on the oil temperature before we can depart. And we're currently showing around 50 degrees there, just within the green band, so we are ready for the takeoff. So for the takeoff checklist, the wings, again they are unfolded and in the locked position. The resting hook, will set that to the up position. Just hold the aircraft on the brakes. Fuel tank is on reserve. Mixture is auto rich. Supercharger control is set to neutral. Propeller is maximum RPM. Cowl flaps are fully open. Intercooler flap we can now close. Oil cooler flaps will now open. Rudder, we need 6 degrees right on the rudder. And the same on the aileron. And we're looking for about 1 degree nose up on the trim. Wing flaps, we'll set flaps 20 for the takeoff. Just wait for the flaps to retract to the correct position. And the flaps are set. Tail wheel, we'll leave that unlocked just until we're on the runway, and we'll continue the checklist from there. So fall back on the stick, parking brake is off, come up slightly on the power to get the aircraft moving. As you can hear, the engine sounds from the Corsair are absolutely wonderful. Really everything about the Corsair in terms of its sound is really nicely done, and indeed the whole aircraft is really nicely done, I have to say. So we'll just backtrack, we'll make sure we take the full runway length here, as we're pretty limited in terms of takeoff distance available. The aircraft overall is a little bit more placid to taxi than the real world version, but it's still a little bit of a handful. I've got full back stick here, you need to be careful on the brakes, and particularly for the takeoff as well. It's definitely quite a challenge there, but that's of course realistic. So just gently swinging the aircraft around, and again holding it on the brakes, back to 1000 RPM. So as I say, we're all set to go, feet off the brakes, we'll slowly come up on that manifold pressure. We can't afford to be too tardy about it though. As I mentioned, the takeoff run available here at Nissan Airfield is quite limited. And that huge Wasp engine up the front does make the Corsair a real handful on the takeoff, but that's certainly as it should be with the aircraft. So power is set, keeping an eye on those T's and P's. Just dancing around on the controls here, trying to keep the aircraft reasonably under control. And up through 80 knots there, so coming back on the stick. And we're up. Tap the brakes, bring the gear up. That cylinder head temperature, as you can see, is right on the limit there, so we'll get the nose down as soon as we can. Start coming off on that manifold pressure as well. Come back to about 40 inches. And we'll come back to around 2500 RPM. Start retracting the flaps. And the flaps are up. We'll get the canopy closed up as well. Should help quieten down everything a little bit. And the after takeoff checklist, manifold pressure is below 44 inches. RPM is below 2550. Gear is up, flaps are up. We'll climb around 130 knots. Cowl flaps, we'll leave them open for now just to get that cylinder head temperature down. Oil cooler. It's getting a little bit hot there on the oil temperature. That's already fully open though. Not much we can do there. Fuel tank will come onto the main now. And the hand pump will switch to the flight position. So we'll level off here around 2000 feet, start trimming the aircraft. Coming back again on that power. Come back to around 30 on the manifold and around 2300 on the RPM. Should give the opportunity for the engine to cool down a little bit. And as I say, we'll just take a quick loop around the island, just get a feel for the aircraft's handling. I'd say the aircraft is really an absolute joy in almost every respect. And again, this is currently a pre-release version, but it already feels complete to me. I really struggle to find fault with that actually. It's very pleasant to fly. As I say, it's a complete handle on the takeoff, but that's accurate to the real aircraft. Once you're in the air though, it's a real joy to fly. Very responsive, very smooth. Doesn't feel overly sensitive though, like a lot of the aircraft in the sim tend to do. As I say, the sounds are nice. The systems seem to be very comprehensive as well. Not much in the cockpit that you can't click on. Still trimming the aircraft out at the moment. She's still wanting to climb currently. That cylinder head temperature is starting to come back now. And the oil temperature is looking good, so we'll adjust the oil cooler there to around 50%. Put that back to the neutral position. And I think we can start closing up those cowl flaps as well. Just leave them slightly open for now. We'll close them all the way up for the landing. So this is Green Island, as you can see. Pretty limited piece of real estate, but rather beautiful. Certainly in the sim, looking really nice. The beaches look really rather lovely. You can see Nissan Airfield just passing off the left wing currently. So we're just out off the western coast of the island currently. We're going to put the aircraft through a couple of manoeuvres just to see how she feels there. So we'll come all the way up on the RPM, come up to 44 inches on the manifold pressure. We'll build up a little bit of speed, we'll put the aircraft through a loop. So just coming up on 300 miles an hour, coming back on the stick. The aircraft feels really nice in pitch, it's responsive but not overly so, and it does feel a little bit heavy, particularly as the speed starts coming back. Just coming over the top of the loop, there's the island off the nose, coming back on the power. So yeah, the aircraft felt really nice in the loop there. And again, coming back up on the power, we'll try an aileron roll next. So we're just doing an aileron roll with full deflection to the left. So overall that seems pretty reasonable. I'm not, again, an expert on the Corsair, but obviously an older fighter aircraft you would expect to have a slightly lower roll rate, and that, again, to me seems pretty plausible. Come back to 30 inches now on the manifold pressure. Come back to 2500 RPM. The island's just behind us, so we'll start running the approach and landing checklist, and we'll head back to the airfield. So tail wheel is locked, that's correct for the field. Electric fuel pump can come on. Fuel tank selector will go back to reserve. Mixture is auto rich. Supercharge control is in the neutral position. Propeller will leave around 2300 RPM for now. Cowl flaps are closed. Landing gear will take down momentarily. Arrestor hook is up. Gun switches and weapon switches are off, and the guns are safe. And that is the approach and landing checklist complete. So as I say, we'll head back towards the field. We'll attempt our first landing in the Corsair, so that should be quite interesting. I suspect the aircraft is, again, going to be a little bit of a handful at low speed. Going to be very tricky as well with that big nose out in front of us on the approach. So landing gear will extend once we're a little bit closer to the field. We need to be below 200 knots before we extend that. Overall, again though, really lovely aircraft, the MILVIZ Corsair, I have to say. Again, it's a pre-release version currently, but already I struggle to find too much to fault with it. It flies really nicely, it sounds amazing, systems all seem to be there. It's, yeah, right up there with the very best aircraft currently available for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Very brief trip today in the aircraft, but I've really enjoyed it overall. So you can already just make out the runway off the nose. Keep the speed up for now, just to get us coming back to the field as quickly as we can. We'll overfly the field and we'll get ourselves set up for the landing on the downwinds. Cylinder head temperature's looking good again now, that's come right back. All temperatures in the green, we've got the cowl flaps closed up. The oil cooler flaps roughly around 50% at the moment, so they're all good. We'll leave them as they are for the landing. Again, taking in a little bit of the scenery as we head past. It's rather an iconic island, Green Island. I'm sure many of you will recognise it from pictures. The water masking, unfortunately, is a little bit of a letdown currently in the sim. In real life it looks even more stunning. Anyway, approaching the field now. Just have a quick look at the runway as we pass by, make sure everything's clear. Which it is, everything looking good down below. So we'll start turning overhead. Come back off the power, allow the speed to slowly start bleeding back. Again, we want to be below 200 knots before we take the gear down. Start turning onto our downwind leg. Just approaching 200 knots now. There's 200 knots, so we'll take the gear down. And we'll just make a nice long sweeping downwind, just to give us plenty of time to get set up on the approach. We'll fly a nice curved approach as well, just to give us sight of the runway until the last possible moments. So gear is down, we have 3 greens. Brakes are tested and off, undercarriage is down. Mixture is rich, fuel pump is on, fuel quantity is sufficient. Instruments are checked. Start taking some flap as well. Be full flaps for the landing. Speed still slowly bleeding back at the moment. Through 1,000 feet. So we'll maintain that for now. And again, keeping an eye on those T's and P's, all looking good there. Get the canopy opened up. So it's full flap. And the flaps are set for the landing. So we're all lined up with the runway, pitch is full fine, undercarriage is down, flaps are set, landing clearance is not required, runway is clear. I'd say the Corsair is even more of a nightmare than the Spitfire when it comes to forward visibility out the front of the aircraft. As you can see, we can see absolutely nothing out the front. So we'll just zigzag a little bit on the approach. And of course, again, that's true to life, so it's certainly not a complaint, just an observation. The aircraft is feeling a little bit like we're on a knife edge here at approach speeds. And again, quite a handful, but overall, I suspect that's accurate for the real-world Corsair. At least more or less. So we've got the threshold in sight. Start coming off that power, coming back on the stick. Holding her off. And there's touchdown. Easy on the brakes. Slowing the aircraft down. So overall, as I said, I think the aircraft felt pretty reasonable in the approach configuration at low speed there. Overall, we still had pretty decent authority. Perhaps just a slight lack of elevator authority there during the landing. Anyway, now that we've slowed down, we'll unlock the tail wheel. Swing the aircraft around, we'll start taxiing back towards the parking area. Just backtrack along the runway. Get those cowl flaps open again, our cylinder head temperature's right on the limit there at the moment. And we can take the flaps up as well. Fuel pump can come off. And we'll get backtracked and shut down as quick as we can there with that cylinder head temperature as it is. Oil temperature as well is right on the limit at the moment. So we'll open up the oil cooler as well. And we'll just come right back on that power as well, just to try and keep those engine temperatures down. But overall, again, as you can see, the engine heating and cooling seems to be pretty well modelled with the Corsair. Certainly does keep you busy managing all the various engine controls. So just vacating the runway to the left. And we'll just swing the aircraft around, again gentle on the brakes with the tail wheel. A little bit of power, just get us pointed back in the direction that we came from. And again, easy on the brakes. Park brake can come on. And shut down the checklist, electric fuel pump is off. Mixture comes back to idle cutoff. Nice little wobble there as the engine shuts down. That's really nice as well. The propeller's even continuing to rotate on a few strokes there. Ignition switch off. Battery master can come off. And the fuel selector can come off. So all electrical switches are off, and that is the shutdown checklist complete. So there you go, guys. I do hope that you enjoyed our quick lap around Green Island in the MILVIZ Corsair. As I say, the aircraft is already shaping up to be an absolutely excellent release for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I really was struggling to find too much to fault about the aircraft. I think it's already pretty much in a release condition. Although once again, the aircraft that you saw here in the video is currently a pre-release version, and as such things may change between now and the final release. Again, I won't go into a full breakdown on the aircraft now, as this is just a first impressions, but overall the systems, the sound, the visual modelling and texturing, everything about the aircraft seemed really top notch. And as I say, for me, the Corsair will, I think, be right up there with the very best add-ons currently available within the sim. The product should be releasing in the not too distant future, and of course I'll have a full review for you when that happens. Once again, I do hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. If you have any comments or questions for me, please leave those down in the comment section below, and I'll always do my best to answer them. And something which I always forget to ask, but if you do have the inclination or the capacity to share the video, then please consider doing so. It really helps to get more people aware of the channel and of course helps the channel to grow. Anyway guys, thanks very much once again for watching. I'll see you all again soon.